I obviously am a huge advocate for Belmont, love Belmont, not from here, but we decided to build our family, our business, as you all have decided, something special about it. But from your perspective, because people expect me to sell Belmont, but you chose to invest heavily in this community, and you chose that the walkability. What about downtown Belmont or Belmont really stood out that said, hey, that's definitely the place? All right, welcome back, or welcome to the Building Belmont podcast. I'm Keanu Trujillo, and today we're joined by Ryan Murphy of the Murphy family, who is responsible for Heirloom, Honeycomb Cafe, soon to be Bumblebee Bakery, and so much more. But today we're talking about the farmers market that you're leading the charge in. And you know, Ryan, I've been so excited to have conversation with him. It's just been very natural. If you're watching this, we are drinking some bourbon and some scotch. It's late in the afternoon. I'm speaking with a person that comes from a family of restaurateurs. So we're just having a good time already, Ryan. So tell me about now your involvement. Did you ever think that you'd be leading a farmers market and restaurants with your family?
No, honestly, it's one of those things that it's when the shoe fits, it fits, and you know you kind of take on the role that it just happenstance. But you know, being a part of the family and what we've done with the restaurants, I never envisioned myself working with the family. But again, when the need is there, I kind of filled that spot. So that's been a wonderful opportunity. And then with the Belmont Farmers Market, which is really exciting. There's been a lot of excitement around town. Having someone that is able to organize and kind of lead with direction, and that's kind of where I came in and was able to upstart that and kind of push it into where it is now and soon to be a brand new market opening up here in the next couple months.
Well, you and your family now are leading the way also in our community garden, and so obviously there's a direct connection with the farmers market and everything you're doing farm to table with Honeycomb and Heirloom. Was the farmers market something that you said, hey, I'd love to lead the charge in that, or was it more of a necessity, like, hey, Ryan's the guy, so go and figure it out?
It was more of actually an evolution. So like you kind of mentioned, the Belmont Community Garden is where I started. As we came in with Heirloom and the brand with farm to table concept, the space was there, and Jonathan Taylor, who owns the space, kind of opened the door to allow us to work it and kind of utilize it. But we still really wanted to keep it a community garden. So that's been in the process for the last year and a half. But on top of that, what goes well with the community garden is a community farmers market. So I knew I wanted to bring a farmers market back. Didn't know when it was going to happen or how it was going to happen. But luckily this year I've had a tremendous amount of support with the team that I've been working with. And things are falling into place as they need to. And so the farmers market is bringing that concept of farm to table really full circle, from the garden to the market and all the way to the table with the restaurants.
Let's go back to your family and purchasing Heirloom in its original form and then deciding to move it to Belmont. Your family was not from the area, specifically being Belmont. Let's get a little bit of inside baseball, since you are, one of the Murphy sons. Obviously, we'll get to talk about more about Heirloom and Honeycomb. We'll have Patrick on. He and I will have one of your awesome barrel-aged old fashions. We'll have a great time. But when you all decided, why Belmont? Why specifically did you decide to build not one, not two, not three, but multiple businesses in the area?
Some people might call us crazy, and I think we still call ourselves crazy. But going back to where we fit in with Heirloom, 2019, we had the wonderful opportunity to purchase the brand and everything that came with it. Unfortunately, a couple months later, we had to close because of COVID. So the long-term plan is we knew we wanted to move the restaurant. The old location wasn't the best location, but it fit a need for the time. So finding a place that was more walking friendly and more immersive with the community. So we actually looked in other locations. We looked down in Ballantyne, we looked in Charlotte, but nothing really fit that community walking vibe. And our family, while we're not from Belmont, we know of Belmont. My parents used to come to Old Stone quite often and always enjoyed their experience and have seen Belmont expand and grow over the last many years. And just happenstance, in a trip down to Belmont, there just so happened to be that new train building that was going up by Steve Simmons of the station. And so he was finishing up construction. It felt energetically that it was meant to be in that space, and it turned out to be a wonderful opportunity to come into that space.
The walkability of it, as you relate to other people, I obviously am a huge advocate for Belmont, love Belmont, not from here, but we decided to build our family, our business, as you all have decided, something special about it. But from your perspective, because people expect me to sell Belmont, but you chose to invest heavily in this community, and you chose that the walkability. What about downtown Belmont or Belmont really stood out that said, hey, that's definitely the place?
I mean, it's hard to speak on the walkability because everything is, walking distance. Obviously, we wish there was more parking. That is what it is. But at the same time, you could walk the entire town and be content. The park, the Greenway, obviously, it's fantastic. It's just, we always go back to the energy, the energy of a place, the vibe of the community, and having what Belmont has is very rare in a small community, but with a big town vibe, and just the walking aspect just gets you from point A to point B within the town. I mean, it's hard to really speak to that.
Yeah, a lot of great variety and thoughtfulness in downtown Belmont as far as the mix of restaurants. And we had Marlena and Chandler on the Belmont at Belmont_babes, and kind of put them to the fire to say, what's your favorite this or that? And in all fairness, they handled it very well. Because truly, it's hard to pick a single favorite. It really just depends on what the mood is. Everything's going to be great in downtown Belmont, from food or drinks. Now, personally, my favorite cocktail was the Jailhouse. Still love the Jailhouse. The environment's awesome. Now it's Heirloom or Honeycomb. But again, different environments, and you can get, depending on what you're feeling, you can get what you're looking for.
Right.
So for those that aren't familiar, break down your family. Mom, dad, your brother. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, so actually my sister too. So my sister is the oldest of the 3 kids. My brother is Patrick Murphy. He's the chef owner of Heirloom. Then myself, I am the youngest, so not the runt of the family, but I was definitely picked on when I was younger. But that relationship between the 3 of us has really grown over the years. And then we're very close-knit with our parents, mom and dad, who are the driving force behind all this.
So Patrick is the chef owner, Patrick is the chef owner, and your sister, is she involved?
She was involved. So she actually went to school for interior design. So during the build out of Heirloom as well as Honeycomb, she was a huge hand in actually deciding, the decisions of what's going to look good, how do we present who we are as a brand, as a family. And that's what you see in Heirloom now with the mirrors on the wall, the honeycomb drop by the bathroom. It's simple but elegant, and she had a huge part in that. And Megan Murphy is her name, so we're all Irish when it comes to it. Megan, Patrick, and Ryan.
I didn't realize that Murphy was an Irish name, but thank you for So we'll definitely, like I said, I'm excited to capture more of the story about Heirloom and Honeycomb specifically, but with what you're doing with the farmers market, tell me about the catalyst and how this idea came to be. You mentioned that it came from the community garden, but I'm not familiar with the history. So there was a farmers market at some point that you're wanting to revitalize? Tell me about that.
So 5-6 years ago, I'm not specific because I'm not from Belmont originally, but there was a farmers market. It used to be held in the space next to the cotton candy factory. And so the organizers of that market used to bring local vendors and farmers into the space, and it was exciting for the town. They're not used to that farm to table concept at the time until, bringing in some other restaurants and as well as our own restaurant. But it went to the wayside. Same thing with the community garden. It kind of went to the wayside. That used to be, full-blown community garden, 50+ beds, and getting everyone engaged. So it was like this missing link. With the new arrival of Heirloom, with the farm-to-table concept, it seemed like there was a missing idea of the farmers and what our region has to offer. And that's one of the things we like to highlight in Heirloom with our seasonal menu, is really what the region has to offer. And everyone is excited, and it's a very young town. And there's obviously a precedence to understand more about our food and how locally sourced ingredients are brought into our diet, and being able to provide a catalyst, a destination for people to experience that, but really beyond that, be able to listen to the story of the food, so you get a full perspective of what you're putting into your bodies. The farmers are with the plants, the farmers are doing the work, and being able to hear their story all the way to the farmers market. That's how you really get engaged with the community.
I'm curious about the amount of farmers or makers or those that would actually supply the farmers market. What are you seeing as far as a variety of vendors?
Oh my gosh, I was actually blown away. So I work with a small committee to help organize, and they've been fantastic in this wonderful support system. But when we first launched applications for the farmers market, we were going to be content with maybe 10 people that were interested. Turns out there was 52 applications that came in, it blew me away. And some of them, were a good fit, and some of them, it might be better for the stations market during December. But really trying to hone in on the farmers, food purveyors, and really more local natural products. So that's kind of where we are trying to fit in, is with those kind of vendors. So
52.
Yeah, I was blown away. And so we're actually going through the approval process now, because obviously, we're gearing up for the first market. But we're looking, maybe between 20 and 30 vendors, on a consistent basis, open variety of, meats and vegetables, fruits, natural products, that kind of fit the needs of the community.
Okay, so 20 to 30 vendors, and you said you're gearing up for the first market. What's the date of the first market?
So we are planning, this is a little different than typical farmers markets.
Okay.
So Thursdays are what we're focusing on, which is, might not seem to make sense. But, as a new market, you have to compete with what's already existing. And so one of the big competitors, which I wouldn't even call a competitor, more of a separate entity, is the Mount Holly Farmers Market. And so they do a farmers market on the weekends. You have across the river, the Charlotte Farmers Market, the Metrolina, which is massive. And so trying to find vendors for a Friday or Saturday is less likely to happen when you're a new market.
Okay.
So a Thursday is what we're going for. So we have a wonderful response for Thursday markets, and that'll be September 22nd is the first market. And so the idea is to dip our toe into the water. So we'll have the first one in September, and then we'll do one sometime in October, probably middle of October, and then one in November. So a monthly market to begin,
okay,
to kind of work out the kinks, and then expand hopefully come the springtime.
Fantastic. I was going to ask about the frequency. So monthly to begin, and where will the farmers market be held?
That is yet to be decided. Okay. So we are in the works of finding a location, but I can guarantee that we'll be in downtown. Okay. So part of our goal as a committee is to really engage the local businesses, because at the end of the day, we're bringing in people, they're bringing in people, and we want to make sure it's a synergistic relationship. And so having the opportunity to work with the local businesses, downtown's the only place to really have it.
So Thursdays being a Thursday evening, or what time of day?
So it'll be 3:30 to 7.
Okay.
And I think we'll hold on to those time frames even as the light changes and stuff. So we'll have the opportunity to have outside lights when it gets a little darker earlier. But I think it's a wonderful time slot. You have people, finishing up school, they're coming back into town from work. It's a quick stop, or, hey, what are we doing tonight? Well, let's go into town. Let's go see the farmers market, and it gives it enough time for the vendors and enough time to really experience what we have to offer in Belmont.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit unconventional, but at the same time, have you experienced our Christmas parade?
I have not, actually.
Okay. Do you know what day it's on?
No, I don't.
It's on a Tuesday, I believe. I'll have to fact check that. I'm pretty confident it's on a Tuesday, though. So a little bit unconventional,
right,
but it works. And what's interesting about the day that the parade is held is because we are a mill community. So Chronicle Mill and these mills, there was a certain day that they would be allowed off. And so it was Tuesdays. And or whatever day that is. I'm leaving myself some space here so I can edit this out, right? So it's interesting that Thursday's the date, but it actually seems like a really although it's going to be unconventional, Saturdays typically what people are used to at farmers markets, I feel like that's going to be a really great point in people's week. All right, now I'm kind of thinking about it right now. We're recording, it's about 5:12 p.m. I'm thinking about leaving here and going stopping by the farmers market on the way home, so there's something about it that I like. Now it's very much so my personality to challenge norms and kind of go against the grain a little bit on things like that. But that's exciting. Since you're doing Thursday night or Thursday afternoon into the evening, is there going to be any, you mentioned having some synergy with local businesses. What are some maybe thoughts or concepts or ideas that you have to make sure that that's servicing also the downtown businesses?
So one of the cool things, and just so happened to fall within the radar when we were looking to do the market, is Thursdays starting this fall we'll have like those pop concerts down in Stowe Park, which is wonderful. It drives people into town, drives people to the farmers market, into the businesses, but really looking for longevity, being able to work with the businesses to offer discounts and coupons. North Carolina can't have a happy hour, but having something of that nature, to really drive the community into town and stop by the farmers market, maybe get a stamp on the ticket, go show it at your nearest restaurant or your bar and be able to get some type of discount. Hopefully working with the local stores in Belmont to maybe open up an hour later, to drive people into their stores. There's a lot of opportunity. It's just, at the end of the day, execution, and why we're trying to start slow is to build into what this could be, hopefully come next spring, having things ironed out.
Is the vision long-term to be weekly markets?
I think vision long-term, weekly markets. For me, a lot of it is time investment. So right now, there's time limitations to what I can do and what the team can do. But as things pick up and as the community gets engaged and it gets excited about each week, maybe coming out to a farmer's market, it could easily be a weekly market.
Yeah. Well, obviously you're involved, so I assume then the Heirloom, Honeycomb, Magusi team behind you, are they all the ones that are also going to be staffing and supporting, or how are you staffing that?
So even though I'm a part of Heirloom and Honeycomb, for me it's always been making sure that there's a distinction between the two. What we're doing with the community garden, what we're doing with the farmers market is separated, and while Heirloom and Honeycomb will be proud supporters, just as my parents are proud to support me in everything I do. They'll be proud supporters, but there'll be a line drawn. Okay. So they might be sponsors, but at the same time, for me, it's just a way to give back and be able to bring that farm to table concept through.
Okay. So there will be a clear delineation between Heirloom, Honeycomb, and the farmers market.
Yeah.
Obviously, the branding is very different. So I can see that already via social. I mean, the concept it seems got a lot of traction early, right? Your following has grown significantly very quickly. I feel like every time I go to the farmers market Instagram, it's a couple dozen more. So people are excited about it. What kind of feedback have you been getting as far as excitement, maybe specifically things that you've heard from the community about the farmers market?
So when we first went public with it, the big push was on Facebook and through the Belmont Community Garden Facebook page, and seeing the response and just how many views the post got. It was almost 8,000 views in a period of 3-4 days, which is tremendous. And the comments and the likes and everything that you can do on a Facebook post, the smiley faces, it was incredible. I've never seen a post from that standpoint really blow up like that. And Eileen, who you're very familiar with, has been running our socials for the farmers market. So she's got her hand on the pulse and understanding what's going on. She's sending out surveys, what would you like to see? And the feedback she's getting is really, really positive. And I think this positivity will continue on until our first market and hopefully afterwards.
Eileen's fantastic.
She's amazing.
She she ought to, be mayor or something sometime. I mean, she kind of is the impromptu, and all of the love and I got to make sure I say this. All of the love and respect to Charlie Martin. Love the man. Eileen might have a future as mayor. Being involved, it was actually kind of funny. I let in a little bit of information. I saw the farmers market and saw it catching traction. So I reached out on Instagram and said, hey, would love to interview someone, capture this story. And the message that I get back is, hey, it's Eileen. And I'm like, Eileen, what are you doing in there? And she's like, I have my hands involved in everything. I'm like, what a blessing, though, because she's also the kind of person who's going to hype up Eileen for a moment. That doesn't care about any type of recognition or it being any about her. And, someone like that, you would think, oh, they must be born and raised Belmont to love their community that much. And no, that's not the case. I find a lot, you, your family, we're not from here, but we really love it and invest in it. And I've not found a community that's like that. It's kind of like, if you're from the area, you'll hype it up. Because it's kind of like everyone thinks their baby's cute at first,
right?
But they all look like potatoes, right? It's like, no, gotta kind of call it how it is.
Right.
Belmont, no, people love it either way. They're not even involved. So that's cool that Eileen is involved. Are you, as far as the qualifications and the people that you're actually looking for the farmers market, you mentioned more specifically organically produced or actual food items. So what are some of the qualifications? And really, I'm helping you to get ahead of people that are going to be upset that maybe they don't qualify. Of course. This can help to qualify your vendors and your applicants.
Absolutely. Like I said, primary focus has been farmers and local producers, food purveyors. The region itself, we have a very high agricultural population. Going toward Gastonia, we have a lot of beekeepers. Gastonia is almost like a capital in the U.S. for, I swear, beekeepers. Wow. Local honey, local meats, poultry, beef from some of the areas in Shelby. And then some of the Huntersville area. Really, our line that we draw is, if it doesn't really fit the natural products, or you're pulling ingredients into your products from the region, then it just might not be the right fit, and that's okay. Because there's a few that we said, you might not be the perfect fit for the farmers market right now. As we get our feet wet, but down the road as we continue to grow, it opens up the opportunity to maybe bring in more of your knitted products or your jewelry that can really expand into a growing market. But at the same time, the station's having a Christmas market this year. We'd love for you to participate. And Talia Simmons is a part of the committee that I work with, so she's on board with everything that we're doing. So it's not saying no, but it's saying not yet.
Yeah.
As we focus and grow, we'll continue to expand upon what we're able to offer. Right now, produce, vegetables, fruits is where we're going to start.
Okay. So essentially, the boundary is crafts, jewelry, items like that are more, hand woven or handcrafted. Not right now.
Right, not right now. And there's a couple, people that have storefronts, whether it's in Belmont or Cramerton, that might be able to have access to sell their product elsewhere. And right now, again, we want to focus on people that are looking for an outlet to sell their product. That might not be widely known, and have an opportunity to really succeed and expand their platform and their fan base.
Yeah, I enjoy, and I want to highlight it because although it may be common to you, it's not common to people, that although you didn't have the solution for them being in the farmer's market, that you were able to say, hey, but Talia, this is what she's doing and you need to connect with her. And that's just not common. And I want to highlight that because, again, sometimes in business, if I don't have what you need, or, you're not my ideal customer, well, then go away. And you're saying, no, we want to help you find the right fit. And so I love that there is an opportunity there to connect the local artisans or, those that are being able to connect that, kind of like what Belmont Yoga is doing right next door to you all. Everything in their shop, their storefront, are local makers, or at least somewhat local to the Charlotte region, where that's crafts and art and other items. But I really enjoy that. So I wanted to highlight that because it might be second nature for you, but that's not common business practice to say, no, I want to find out what's best.
Right.
So,
well, and at the same time, you're trying to build community, you're trying to build morale, excitement. And you don't want to turn down people from your community, but giving them a different avenue to approach, keeps everyone happy and keeps everyone engaged at the end of the day.
What kind of, you mentioned produce, vegetables, fruits, what kind of meat can we be looking forward to? Poultry, beef, I don't know.
It's right now. There's
Seafood.
From the people that we've reached out to that have showed interest and we've accepted. There's kind of a nice spread of local beef. We do have some poultry, some pork. A little bit of everything at the end of the day.
I think I'm talking more about food because I'm getting hungry.
It's that time.
Almost 5:30 p.m. Like, all right,
I wish Heirloom was open.
So
I'd
what
tell you
kind
to
of
come over.
steaks are we going to be having? If Heirloom was open, we'd probably be recording over there right now over some food. But man, I'm really excited to get to connect with you. Obviously, you're doing a lot to get connected in the area, and I'm glad that we've crossed paths now. Now, Belmont is interesting because, and really I'd say Gaston County, once you meet someone once, then you see them everywhere. So I'm sure I'll see you everywhere now, but you are getting involved in the community. So how can this platform, serve what you're doing? What kind of call to action might you have for the audience or those that are listening? Obviously, you're doing a lot to serve the community, but how can we help your efforts?
Yeah, at the end of the day, what I'm doing and what the team's doing, it's more behind the scenes. At the same time, we are always open to speaking with people, engaging with people. I want people to ask questions about what we're doing because it opens up the conversation, builds a relationship, and that's what we're all about. So even with the farmers market, people that are excited, want to be a part of it. I imagine, as things grow, we'll be looking for volunteers to participate with the community garden. That's something that we've been growing for the last year and a half, and getting people engaged with the space and wondering, what's the next step. Those kind of conversations are what build relationships, and at the end of the day, relationships grow and are worth more than some of the other things that we do.
Yeah. Thanksgiving must be awesome at your house, right? Patrick cook
You
everything?
would think so. You would think that a chef that is involved would love to cook, but at the same time, and he's told me this, and I imagine other people in that craft feel the same way. When you're cooking food and you're around food all day, the last thing you want to do is come home and cook. So it's like a catch-22. He made one Thanksgiving, I think, for us, but after that, I think he was just like hands off. Let someone else do it.
Well, I actually learned something about your brother early on about his passion for breakfast, which I found is not common amongst chefs. So, I'm really excited. We're going to have to arrange some time to get him on. And, actually, I hope that you're going to be there as well. Just the three of us will have a conversation, talk about Heirloom and Honeycomb more specifically. And I think, with this platform, we're never going to have a lack for content, even if we just did one person, one episode. There's so much there's so much history and stories in the community, but that's not going to be the case. We're going to have you on a few more times, probably, of course, several times. You've been fun to have a conversation with. I hope people enjoyed it as much as I have. I didn't just enjoy you because we're drinking bourbon and scotch tonight, but as we close, anything that you want to share with the listeners, with the community?
It's been a wonderful experience. We've been a part of this community for the last 8 months now, since October, with the opening of Heirloom, and little by little we're seeing it continue to grow, and being a part of that growth is a fantastic opportunity, and we can't thank the community enough to be so welcoming for our family and the brand, and sharing the excitement that we have with the new endeavors with the farmers market and the community garden. And so as we continue to grow, I hope that more people want to get engaged and want to reach out. You're more than welcome to attach my information and let people have a way to get in touch, or share a story or get engaged.
Okay, awesome. So your direct cell phone, right? I'll share your email.
We can do the email.
I'll share your email. I'll do you that favor. Well, thank you guys for spending some more time with us. Of course, thank you to Ryan for taking your evening out to share what your family's doing. On behalf of the community, thank you to your family for seeing Belmont worthy of investing in and, of course, building in. It's been, now that Heirloom and Honeycomb are here, it's hard to envision, downtown without them. They're staples. Right. So thank you for what you guys have done, to your family, and I look forward to continuing to build with you.
I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Building Belmont podcast. I'm your host, Keanu Trujillo, reminding you to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And of course, share with a friend, share with a neighbor. We'll see you again next week as we capture more stories, create more connection, and share more information here on the Building Belmont podcast.